No,
Oh, I heard a little.
I'm here.
Oh,
Uh-oh, we've got to fix our, okay.
Very quiet, though.
Nate?
don't know who, well, we'll find out. Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on June 28th, 2023, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Bob Rawls and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Channel 18 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It is being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you've been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. If you're online and you're not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you have been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. So that we have a record of a quorum, I'll now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Bob Del Vecchio is not here today. Janet Williams.
Present.
Karen Latin.
Present.
Mary A. Sullivan
Present.
is present remotely and very faintly, so we have to, I don't know if that's on your end, Mary, or on ours, but you can see what you see. Elise Gordon is not here today, and Cheryl Meservey is not here. But I am here, so we have barely a quorum. Nikki Smith, Chatham's conservation agent, will now lead us through the agenda.
She will just have to get close to the computer. That's how it's been.
Oh,
Did you hear that, Mary?
Yeah, what did you say?
yeah, lean in close to your,
Computer.
Thank you.
She's,
I have it
Do you,
on this
do you hear that more clearly?
Yeah,
a little bit, but
a
not,
little bit.
not much.
I'll turn up the volume overall.
Oh, okay.
All right, so first, before we get into all the hearings, I just want to mention for anyone that's on the platform for any of these that are being continued. So that's 676 Orleans Road will be July 26th, 299 Cranberry Lane will be August 9th, and 72 Happy Valley Road will be July 12th. So we'll do those officially when they come up, but just for anyone that was just on here to listen to those, you can join us at the next meeting. And then I just wanted to real quick, while most of the people are on, and they don't drop off as we move on in the meeting, the July 5th, has anyone thought about if we want to hold that or not? It's still just,
Well, yeah, we had just the one RDA.
it continued, we don't even have that.
Oh, we don't even have that.
So the only thing would
We
be,
didn't have to vote to continue it, it just got continued. Technically.
I'll have to talk to the clerk. I think maybe one person has to come on and say that we're continuing. That's what we did in Brewster, but it didn't seem right. So I'll talk to the clerk and see.
Okay. Well, then the only other thing that was mentioned as a possible topic was,
Possibly violations, but
And-
we said we'd tack it on today.
There's too much research and too many people are trying to get back to me about where they stand. So I'd prefer to just hold off and do them all at once if possible.
Oh, okay.
well-
I
well-
was curious about like geranium, which I think they, by June, were supposed to let us know of a plan.
I think, I actually, I'd like to briefly talk about violations at the end, but not in depth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just more about process rather than individual violations. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because Elise did some work that I can describe.
oh,
We can.
good.
take
Oh,
it
good,
up.
so she was working on it, great.
So yeah, July 5th. We might have the full-fledged regulations done for you guys to just look through and make sure it's, in order and all that stuff. But it's nothing we need to vote on. It's just making sure the document is,
Wait. I just think it's a tough day for people to, because a lot of people are taking off that whole week on account of having
Yeah.
a long weekend, so.
I mean, I agree.
And Mary's gonna say,
I'm not going to be here.
She's not
She's
gonna,
not
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we're going to Colorado.
Your audio is on the floor.
Yeah, let's see,
What if
I
it's
don't know why.
everybody? Should, yeah.
Can you
Sure.
maybe
Let
me
call
just-
in?
I'm gonna take you off my external speaker and see if it's any better.
Sometimes if you call in separately, then you can use the phone for the talking part. That's what I do.
Yeah, you've done both, I've seen that.
I
yeah.
do, only because I'm finding that the computer is not always spectacular for the microphone.
So, sounds like maybe we don't need to meet on the 5th.
Yeah, I wanted to clear that up in case anything gets continued and we
Right,
know we're
right.
not going to the 5th. But again, we don't have anything.
Might as well
on
take
the-
advantage of it. It's a rare opportunity to,
I think everyone had the same idea that they didn't
Yeah.
want to have a meeting on the
Yeah.
5th.
I just didn't know if maybe that gave us an opportunity to do violations, not that I thought we needed to do it that day. It
No.
was just a
Yeah.
thought.
but, yeah, I think we can touch on it today a little bit and keep forward motion going on that.
All right. So at the end, we'll announce that our meeting, we'll vote to have it canceled and we'll meet July 12th. I think that's all I had. All right, so now back to the regular scheduled hearings. There were following applicant requested an order of conditions: 23 Woodcarver Knoll, Sydney Realty Trust, Julie Moore, trustee, map 11D, parcel 4A, SE 103610, reconstruction of a driveway and construction of a building addition.
Right. Let's see, I have to make sure I open up. Bob Delvecchio sent in comments
I
separately.
don't think he had any comments on wood carver. We actually went over it once.
Yeah,
earlier.
Yeah, now this is the one that you did a
Yeah,
long time ago
that I did a long time
and
ago.
forgotten that you had done.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure I did it, but I did.
And then I guess Crystal took it up and took it home, or finished it up to some degree maybe. Anyway, so comments. Anybody have comments? I put mine in the document and so did Janet, and we can read those out.
And I obviously had no comments since I wrote it.
So
There
that-
was the question about whether the new patio is pervious.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was both a finding and a condition.
And I do have in my notes at the time, that Dave Clark was gonna check on that, and that's all I know about it. But Dave, I don't know, I don't see you here.
He is there.
He is there. Oh, there he is,
Yeah.
DC, all right.
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, not very well. No, we have an audio problem.
Oh.
Oh, now we can hear you. Now we can hear you.
Okay. So, yeah, it will be a dry laid patio. That was the question, right?
Yes.
Are you
Editing,
editing? Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm just taking out the question
Yes.
and adding the right,
Have you looked at it, David, the draft?
Yes, yes. I didn't see anything in there that was problematic.
Okay. So while Janet's editing, I'll just whip through some comments that I had. There was the question about whether it was pervious or not. I added the word straight to where we talked about natives.
so I have a question.
Okay.
about that.
All right, about the patio?
No, it struck me as I was
Oh, that's straight.
reading through it, yeah, because it's not capitalized, and so I wondered whether it seems like it's being used as a defined term or a term of art that's widely understood, and when I Googled it, sure enough, it seems to be pretty widely understood and its definition in certain circles. But,
We don't define it.
right, I'm just wondering whether the applicant, whether we need to add some kind of explanatory language or whether it's understood well
Sure,
enough.
sure. Until we have it in our materials, then yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It's just simply a native that's not crossed with a non-native. In other words, it's not a cultivar of any kind. Okay, good, thanks. Yeah, that's a phrase I'm starting to use, and I guess, yeah, you're right, we should define it.
It has crept into all of our vocabulary, but it wasn't until I read this.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm not
And
sure
it
everybody
was
knows that.
after, I think, this was written that we started talking about cultivars versus straight native.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an epiphany and started, yeah,
We should have probably incorporated that into our,
true.
but,
Well,
it doesn't matter because the revised regulations define native with reference to the list
Yeah.
that's kept. So as long as we keep that,
As long as we don't
Yeah.
allow any
we
cultivars on
need
our
to,
list.
yeah, we'll make sure that that list is raw.
All right. And then on the third special condition, I just made it a little more, I tried to make it more clear. That is the where in the NDZ, we're going to have straight natives. And in the outer aura, there will be a mixture of straight natives and non-natives, non-invasives.
So does that 63, because you're using an absolute number, does that represent
That's just.
no more than 25%?
It does not, but I'm thinking that this predates our.
Oh, okay, so
revised
as long as we're
regulation.
happy with that number 63.
Yeah.
We started in March with this one.
Yeah, this goes back. Yeah,
So I think because it predates, I don't think we can go back,
okay.
can we?
Just-
I don't think,
Not really, no, if we agree,
I don't think
that's.
that's fair.
It wouldn't be fair, no.
Just
all
on that
about-
note, real quick, I'm planning on putting a July 1st, 2023 for the date
Effective
of
date.
the effective date
Okay.
of the regulations.
And then Janet had a question about Black Beauty.
Yeah, I've never heard the term.
It's a native seed mix, and
It is?
fescue seed mix, I assume, I don't know. It was mentioned in the NOI, but it wasn't described. I don't know if you happen to know, David, offhand, anything about it?
I do not, sorry.
Okay. We're going to assume, why don't we put in there that it is a native?
Yeah, I'll do that.
um,
And we should double check and get that confirmed, and we can put that on our list, because our list should be broken up into various types of vegetation.
Yeah.
So that would be helpful for people. If there's more choices, that's good.
And then, yeah, down on special condition number 8, there was, Karen had put in the standard language about dry laid. And so, since now we know that it will be dry laid,
It'll stay.
it should stay.
Mhm.
And what else? I didn't know, nothing else I can see.
That's it.
So Black Beauty, it's like, it's made by Jonathan Green, so let's say Coke, and then Black Beauty is like Coke, the big company, and then there's Sprite, and there's Coke, and there's whatever.
Diet
And then
cherry
there's,
Coke.
there are different brands, like whether it's cherry or diet or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So we'll have to I'll get the exact specifications. Because there's original, heavy traffic, sunny, sun and shade, heat and drought, ultra. So we'll just have to, I'll have to get the specifications, because I know the sun and shade one has Kentucky bluegrass. I just saw.
Mhm.
So I'll get the exact.
Okay, so for this one, we'll just say native, so
Original,
they have to use.
the original version was 100% tall fescue.
Of Black Beauty?
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
That's what it's saying, the original.
Right,
They don't specify ultra.
okay. We'll put,
Well, Ultra must be
Native
better
Black
than
Beauty.
original.
But what did they put in it to make it better?
All right, so I guess that is it. Who's going to be our?
I'll be Bob, so you can do your
Okay,
usual.
so I can continue with.
Yeah, so, all right, I'll make a motion to close the hearing and approve the order of conditions as amended for 23 Wood Carver Knoll.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Janet.
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Yes.
That came through loud and clear. All right, good.
All right, he fixed it somehow.
Yeah, and I vote aye too, so that is in the can.
All right, next we have the order of conditions for 2 Scallop Terrace, David and Lisa Howe, map 16A, parcel 12, or parcel 28A, H14I, SE 103634, Existing dwelling will be elevated to meet the flood requirements and it will be reconstructed and a second floor addition will be added.
Okay. I don't know. Someone trying to speak? I don't see a hand up. Okay, well, we'll just assume not for the moment. So, going through here, looks like a slight change to the hearing information record of the date. Couple of typos. Getting down to findings. I guess these are yours mostly, Jen, if you want to talk about
Looks
them.
like it.
I think I just had, yeah, you have a lot more there.
Okay, I just wanted to, I think I specified the coverage numbers, and underscoring the point that, oh, this is a good question, that the entire site is within the coastal floodplain land subject. And so that plays into the vegetation
Well, actually,
issue.
before we continue, is there someone here
That,
for Two Scallop? Thad, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Thad Aldridge, East Southeast for the record.
Yeah, just, so have you already looked at it and are you,
oh, okay, this is the applicant.
oh, I see.
Yes, I was happy enough with it, and I can add that we did submit revised plans. The zoning board of appeals asked us to shave 2 feet off the deck.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, we did hear that and we'll get to that.
Okay.
All right, so, Janet.
Just clarified that there's a decrease in impervious as well as the increase in pervious hardscape. Also wanted to clarify, because we talked about it at the hearing, that and I kept using the word portion because I can't think of the more accurate word, but the at-grade part of the house that stays below what's being elevated. So I just wanted to, we had talked about that section will be clad with some sort of lattice, for lack of a better word, or something like that, that will allow the free flow of floodwater should they ever get that far up, hopefully not, but if they do, it won't result in any displacement of floodwaters and it will flow through that area. We also talked about, and I think I added that as both a finding and a condition, because I thought it was both. The other findings, that was Bob's. I added something to the justification for the variance, and on the conditions, similarly, I added that the area beneath the raised area below the deck particularly is crushed stone. No kinds of materials can be stored in that area that could result in the release of any kind of pollutants should floodwaters make their way in there. And I think that's it.
4 findings.
And conditions, I just covered.
Oh, you
just
did.
Zipped through it
Oh,
all.
okay, so, yeah, mine are more special conditions, I guess. So I quibbled with finding number 5, which was asserted in the NOI that the wetlands will be able to expand with the removal of the asphalt. I don't really see that happening unless you were to lower the path, because it still will remain. So I wasn't persuaded by that as a finding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also, yeah, Bob added, so I would say, I don't agree with that finding in essence.
Which finding?
The finding that the wetlands will be able to expand with the removal of the asphalt. So we can discuss it, I guess.
I suppose it means if to the extent to which the existence of the hard asphalt below the surface or on the surface is preventing wetland vegetation
Or
from
deeper roots.
being in that place, then,
I guess it would have a positive effect there, but by and large, I don't expect that path to go away. And
no, the path is going to
No.
be seeded and
Yeah,
used
so
as a path.
it'll
So
be-
it technically, a path would not be a part of the wetland because it's going to be a,
A true
But
path.
the assertion is that the wetland can expand. And
Oh, if I may, the native
Certainly.
vegetation can expand.
The vegetation,
Fringe.
the area for vegetation can expand.
Yes.
Oh,
Not
So
the
the
wetland.
asphalt is really hindering the woody vegetation from being able to grow there. Taking out the asphalt
oh,
will
okay,
enable it.
all right.
I'm gonna
If it's
say,
a wetland vegetation, great. If it's an upland vegetation, great. It's, as long as it's native vegetation that continues to thrive.
Got it, all
so
right.
if we
That-
change that to the existing native vegetation within the wetland, we'll be able to expand with the removal of the asphalt.
Yes,
Vegetation.
that makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. On Bob, so Bob Delvecchio added the finding that a portion of the wetland is, currently serves as parking, and I know we talked at the hearing about continuing to use that during the construction period, because there's nowhere on site to park. But I did not recall, and I could not find in my notes, and I'll look at Karen, that, was there, I thought we did talk about what happens post-construction. Is it allowed for overflow parking, or?
I didn't see that it was, but maybe Lisa wants to speak to that.
Yeah, because I
So
started
the
to write something
intention-
about no parking after construction is completed, but I stopped because
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
No, I didn't.
The intention is to park on the asphalt, or the remains of the asphalt. Once the project is over, it's to remove it. There'll be enough room for one parking space there. There's about 20 feet back is where we'll start the asphalt removal. They do use that parking space on occasion, and usually it's just the one. So just like the number 5, that it's not really wetland expansion, we're not really parking in the wetland, we're parking in the old road.
Yeah, I would just say that, this is Lisa Howe, the applicant, homeowner. We use that spot as a secondary parking, because it's very tight between us and the neighbor by the house. And, you know, my preference is not to be looking at a car when I look out the window, so, you know, and when I park there, it's also as a deterrent to people who shouldn't be doing things on that wetlands, because we've had problems with that in the past, so.
What is the surface there? So that first 20 feet, does not contain any asphalt? It's just sand? What is that first?
No, it's sand over asphalt.
Sand over, so there is asphalt in the first 20,
I thought so.
but you're not going to remove that part of the asphalt?
No, we're removing about 2,000 square feet further to the east, starting at about 20 feet from the existing exposed asphalt.
From the street, going up back?
From the existing paved road,
Okay,
we're gonna start the asphalt removal about 20 feet to the east of that, so that there's still a stable parking space for that one car. And then about 2,000 square feet of asphalt will be removed from there towards the water.
okay. I didn't have that written down.
That was my recollection, that
Yeah.
they wanted to keep
I
a
didn't have
parking
anything.
spot there. But
Thank you.
Okay, so this asphalt will remain,
yes.
and the,
All remaining asphalt will be removed.
yep, approximately 20-foot section may be used for parking. Okay. If I could spell asphalt.
And then going on, special condition, there's standard conditions. Let's see, what is it, special? It's a, for projects in and are impacting no disturb zones, we're going to keep that. But for the next 2 items, for projects with mitigation planning, and the next one where the mitigation area is located anywhere, we're not going to keep because there's no mitigation area.
Correct.
And we're going to keep the standard language for projects with pervious, no, we're taking that out because it's,
No. Well, it's gonna be pervious below the deck, the
Okay,
crushed stone
okay,
surface.
okay.
But it won't have to be clean. It's not subject to these kinds of things, you're right, so that should probably come out. Can't really clean it.
And then I added, I think these are mine, more special conditions. Any vegetation planted in the NDZ will be native. That's just standard, but I just wanted to emphasize it. All grass planted in the R will be native fescue. The vegetation planted in the outer R will be at least, oh, I have 75% straight natives here.
That's right. Oh, yeah,
Right.
Well, yeah,
no more than
because
25% non-native. But let me ask that and the homeowner, because I had in my notes that because it's in the land subject to coastal storm flowage, all vegetation planted is going to be native. Do I have that right?
Well,
I
they,
had that written down that they hadn't determined what,
Right.
but that they were putting in all native plantings.
okay, that's not what I had in my notes, so let's find out.
Let's find out.
What did you actually say, Thad?
My understanding is the plan is to have all native.
Excellent.
My understanding is also that when you have resource area, the floodplain over the entire thing, that it's all supposed to be native when you plant.
Right, we agree.
Right.
We just had a little.
Is that what,
Yep.
I mean, that's what the interpretation of the regulations has been recently.
Thad is making a little joke
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
about interpretations. And
Just
so-
trying to keep up with it all.
No, well, we're trying. We're trying to make it crystal clear.
Hard.
Then I added planting plan and plant inventory to be submitted to and approved by the agent before planting. And then I have the path where asphalt will be removed, will be replaced with native fescue and mowed as needed. Then I know that you're wanting a 4-foot wide path. I was wondering why that can't be 3 foot. I think it's typical for us, is it 4 or 3 in our?
Most strips are 3.
Most are 3, and
Access paths generally are 3.
yeah, so I'm wondering why you were wanting 4 and whether 3 would be adequate to your needs.
Just in the old regulation, it does specify a 4-foot path,
I
and
think it does, yeah, I'm pretty
Does
sure
it
it says
say?
a maximum of
Says
4
4.
feet, maximum of 4.
4 is what it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And that's all we have.
and really, if it's mowed in the spring and the fall, maybe one time in the summer, and they have 4, vegetation's gonna continue to grow in off the sides, and
It will be 3 soon.
there'll be 3, and then they'll mow it back to 4, and then it'll become 3 again, and it's just that dance with the vegetation.
Right. It seemed- I mean, it would seem that 3 would get the job done, but
But then the 3 becomes 2 as the vegetation grows in, and then you're fighting it and mowing more often.
okay, well, I guess that could be argued either way, but we'll leave it as is. All right, anything else?
Anything?
No.
Anybody? All right, then I'll make a motion to close the hearing and approve the order of conditions as amended here for 2 Scallop Terrace.
Latin second.
We'll call vote Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I vote aye too. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thanks.
All right, the next item up is a notice of intent and possible order of conditions, 448 Old Harbor Road, Michael and Elizabeth Riley, map 16G, parcel K3, SE 103620, addition to single-family dwelling within the buffer zone to a coastal bank. There was confusion on whether they were supposed to just come back for more discussion, or if we were going to discuss anything you wanted to, and then go ahead and have the order drafted, or, I'm not sure what happened. That was the one when I ran out to call the Crawfords.
Oh, right.
So I think everyone's a little confused on what was happening. So I just said, we'll put it under this, and if we're ready to issue the order, go for it. If there's more questions or changes, we can make them, and
Who's here for, is this,
David Clark.
this Dave? Okay, David. Can you, what's your perspective on where we are?
So, yeah, I believe we were waiting for zoning board of appeals because when it was first heard, we did not have a date yet with zoning board. So it went to zoning board last week and I believe it got approved. And so this is the last stop. So I think you're ready to move towards an order.
Okay.
I don't think there was anything,
There were no changes for zoning?
no.
Okay. Yeah, so as luck would have it, we're ready to talk about the order. And have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. We're doing something wrong if they're always fine with
Yeah, we gotta
it. Okay.
up our game here.
So, let's see. For findings, Jen just corrected the spelling or how sonotube is spelled. And Bob Del Vecchio suggested a special condition, any new plantings in the NDZ, and I think I may have paraphrased his a little bit.
Right, you added straight native when I just put in what we just talked about.
Yeah. Okay, so any new plantings in the NDZ shall be straight native. And any new plantings in the outer R will be at least 75% native. All plantings should be approved in advance by the agent, conservation agent.
Yep.
Is that okay with you, David?
Guess it is.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Well, good. Then this was a fairly straightforward one.
Okay, then I will make a motion to close the hearing and approve the order of conditions as amended for 448 Old Harbor Road.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a request for an extension to an order of conditions, 59 Chase Street. It's for her LLC, I like that. Map 16C, parcel C5, SE 103326, demo rebuild dwelling, expand porch, replace deck with patio. They're asking for a 1-year extension, I believe it's for plantings. Yes, an additional year to install additional mitigation plantings prior to closing the order of conditions.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Okay, we
Always happy to
typically,
do it.
these are fairly routine.
Yeah.
So,
And last year was such a bad year, I have a feeling
was-
a lot of
it was a
people didn't
bad
have
year.
good luck with mitigation plantings and
Well, we did have a drought last.
a drought, and then that cold snap that was like negative whatever degrees.
Yeah.
A lot of things
Oh,
didn't
boy,
come back from
It
that.
did in all the hydrangeas, and it did in all the butterfly bushes, and a fair number of the roses, and
Yep.
funny thing that the natives all came through, though, without,
Funny thing,
funny thing about that.
Some people are saying even the roadies got hit. Mine were
Mine were
fine.
fine.
I lost my bayberries.
Bayberries?
Yeah.
we lost some too, yeah, we did.
Wow.
They weren't all that great in the
Not
first
great.
place, but
Oh,
I did hear
That is
people were
sad.
losing fig trees too.
is that from the February cold snap?
I think so.
So we have a motion on this one?
Oh, yeah.
We're having so much fun.
I move to approve the request for an extension for 59 Chase Street.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
all right. The next batch is notice of intents. The first one, 676 Orleans Road, Christian Dietrich, Riders Cove Dreams LLC, map 12J, parcel 5, SE 103625. Raise the dwelling and redevelop the property. They requested a continuance to July 26th.
26?
Is that right?
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the request for a continuance for 676 Orleans Road to July 26th.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
All right, next we have 299 Cranberry Lane, Timothy F. Ryan, map 15K, parcel 7-7, SE 3594, redevelopment of property, new house, guest house, septic, sports court, and land management plan. They requested a continuance to August 9th.
All right, motion to continue 299 Cranberry to August 9th.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
And while we're on a roll, I'm just gonna do that Happy Valley one, and then it'll be your turn, David. 72 Happy Valley Road, Mark Hunt, map 60, parcel 27A-19A, SE 10, 3631, raise existing single-family dwelling and reconstruction of a new single-family dwelling. They're requesting a continuance to July 12th.
All right, motion to approve the continuance of 72 Happy Valley to July 12th.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
All right, now we have 93 Scattery Road, Scott Ward and Ingrid Goldman, map 16J, parcel 20A-9. I don't have the SC number written down. Do you know if you got one?
As of late this morning, we haven't received one yet.
Okay. Replacement of a portion of the foundation under the south wing of the dwelling, the replacement of a portion of a deck adjacent to the cottage with a patio, minor grading, and site restoration.
Good afternoon, David Little, and Teresa Sprague is here online to speak to this project as well. The new owners of this property are planning to restore the very old dwelling. It dates back to 1742, and the south end of the L on the south end closest to the cottage, the foundation needs to be replaced. So we've met with contractors and figured out that we essentially need to dig around the foundation, remove the unsuitable soil. It is unsuitable, so as Kenny McIntyre, who's been hired to do the work, as he digs around the foundation, he will remove the soil from the site, so there won't be any stockpiling of soil on the site. And using a small rubber or some sort of a small bobcat, something with tracks, he informed me, he will actually dig out underneath the house to construct a new foundation. We've shown a limit of work, a very tight limit of work. The brick walkways would be replaced in kind. The reason for the replacement of the deck adjacent to the cottage is the site all around the deck between the house, the grading is going to have to be lowered there. So we intend to lower the grade a little, and in doing so, we will install a patio, pervious patio in place of the deck in the exact same footprint. The large maple is going to have to be removed. I'll let Teresa talk to that, but that is the extent of the project. They do have other work on the property that they're working with several people on that I expect probably this winter we may be coming back before you to do work elsewhere, but they would like to be able to move forward with the new foundation under the building this fall. So I'd like to turn it over to Teresa if she's
She's
on.
here, yeah.
Is there?
I just saw her.
She's
in her car.
She's in her car.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Teresa Sprague with Blueplex Design. Yes, I'm pulled over, though I'm safely parked. Sorry. So David, I think just really explained the plan very clearly. Because the grade has to be dropped about 7 inches around the perimeter of the house, the existing grade, the shingles are rotting, the existing grade is far too high around the house. So we do have to do some regrading. The grade has to come down. When that work is done, the roots of the maple tree are going to be severely impacted. There was previously a maple tree. You can tell there's a very large stump if you were out to the site next to that existing 26-inch maple. So it was removed. That maple tree is quite close to the house. So there's really concern that the excavation and the grading that's going to be required to protect the foundation of the house is going to have a severe impact on that maple. So with that, we are proposing to remove that, be proactive, and remove that maple prior to the start of work. To mitigate for that, we're proposing to plant two Quercus bicolor within the 100-foot buffer to the east of the cottage. I'm sorry, to the east southeast of the cottage, at the edge of that area that looks quite wet. There is a little bit of invasive vegetation. There's some English ivy, there's some miscanthus, and some burning bush that we propose to remove. The planting beds around the foundation will be reinstated, but will be planted with no more than 25% non-native exotic vegetation, non-invasive. The rest, 75% native vegetation within the 100-foot buffer zone is proposed. The walkways are to be reinstated as existing, and we are proposing a 1-foot gravel drip line around the foundation of the house in the area where the repairs are taking place to keep vegetation from growing right up against the house and to allow for some water to infiltrate through because water has been such an issue on this site. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the proposed work. And as David pointed out, we are working with the property owners and we will be coming back to you to address the issue of the Japanese knotweed to the west of the test.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. I would just ask, normally when we get a plan from you, you indicate where plants are going and give us a plan inventory. Was there a reason? Or at least I didn't see one this time.
Yeah.
Is there
Oh, I provided,
It's,
yeah,
Here, planting
there's
schedule,
a planting schedule.
down the bottom
Yes,
right,
there's a
Why
plant
not?
schedule.
And it's
Yeah,
all-
for the key.
right there,
I'm being,
foundation plants.
I
Oh,
think
oh, I
it's
see.
not as obvious because she's got more green where there will be the
now,
cod lawn.
yeah, I stand corrected. Yes, I see it now. Okay. Never mind.
Yes, in the areas that are to be regraded, that are shown in green, we are proposing to reinstate just a microclover fescue lawn in those areas. And then the planting is mainly located around the foundation garden beds. It's really reinstating planting that's currently existing around the structure and around the fence between the guest house or the cottage and the main dwelling.
Right. And the swamp oaks, I now realize you're depicting those. Yeah, I see where those are now.
Yes.
Okay.
There's also another tree being removed near where the swamp oaks are going.
There's a
Why
red-
is
There's a red
that?
X, yeah.
Chinese silvergrass.
Yeah.
It's a miscanthus grass. So
Oh, okay.
it's a non-native, it's on the invasive species watch list, so we're proposing to remove it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. Hi, Teresa.
Hi.
Being mindful of the argument that we have all the time about at what point you can increase the size of replacement trees before you start getting into risks of survival. I'm still noticing that for a 26-inch, you're talking 2 to 3 inch caliper oaks, and I'm wondering if those, you look at this plan, you go, whoa, that's good, and then you realize that's 25 years down the road. So I'm going to make my pitch. Can you up those a bit before you get into the area where it becomes too risky?
I think so. I mean, I think we could put in, there's good access here, so it's not like we can't bring in a piece of equipment to plant these trees. We could probably bump that up to the 4 to 5 inch caliper range without any issues.
Okay.
Well, I was going to ask for a third tree.
Well, we could ask for that too.
It's a beautiful tree that's coming out.
It is.
It is a beautiful tree that's coming out, and the property owners really did not want to remove this tree. It's just an unfortunate fact that it is going to be damaged, and that grade has to come down. That if you've been there, you can see that the area, those roots have actually lifted the grade up, and water's running towards the house. In order to regrade this properly, we just have to remove the tree. It is unfortunate, but we really don't have a choice. And the foundation damage is pretty significant. They have to take care of the foundation of this house. I understand that.
Yeah, I think we get the logic of why it's coming out. So,
Well, can another go in its place? Since they loved it, it's obviously not an issue.
A smaller tree, because you would just be
Right.
repeating the same.
But it's not an issue of them not wanting a tree there, from what
well,
you're
I
saying.
think there was some verbiage about how it was, you know, next to the pool and.
It
That's next
is,
to the
and
house.
it's
I know.
It is quite close to the house, the pool, the deck. To put in a tree, we did look at that option and discussed that with the homeowners. To put in something like an oak or another large tree, they were not in favor of putting in something small like an amelanchier. They didn't want anything that looked like a shrub or a bush. So they, for aesthetic reasons, they were not in favor of that. And we felt very uncomfortable proposing an oak tree or something that was going to get to that size and eventually have to come down at a later point. We preferred to put in a tree. We preferred to put trees in locations where we knew that they were going to have a long, happy life. There is another option that we looked at to the north of the screen porch. You can see on the north side of the property, there's a gazebo-like screen porch. There is an opportunity for us to put in a third tree to the north of that, where we could comfortably fit another tree. So I would suggest if the commission would like a third tree within the 100-foot buffer, that we locate it there.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
If we go with 3, can we go back to the 2 to 3 inch caliper?
No.
No, we don't give back.
Well, what
I mean,
But you're still not going to reach the
it never-
biomass swap.
It never hurts to ask.
I know, it doesn't hurt to ask.
It doesn't hurt that.
And the only thing that I would recommend is that the tree on the north side, I would suggest we put in a 2 to 3 inch caliper just because of access. But certainly we could put in larger trees on the southeastern side of the property. I don't think that's an issue at all.
Oh, that sounds
far
like
as
a great
excavating.
compromise.
Yep.
Yes, that sounds good too, Teresa, to me.
Okay.
We are getting punchy.
And we're not even 45 minutes in.
I know. That's not boding well.
So I'm going to ask a question that I always ask in situations like this. And I think this is the first property I've seen where there is a tennis court in the NDZ.
Mm-hmm.
And by any chance, was it ever
Permitted?
licensed by the Conservation Commission?
I don't know.
I asked,
You're going to have a second stab at the tennis court in the future?
oh, is that right?
Yes, we plan to come back with a more robust plan for the entire property, to do additional work. So with respect to that, you will have an opportunity to address it.
To weigh in on it?
Absolutely.
I assume the plan is not to remove the tennis court.
We're exploring everything right now.
Okay, all right.
Including whether it has a permit.
And
Yeah.
yes, we will, I will reach out to Nikki and Crystal and see. if
Well,
we
I
can
already
get-
did, and they have no record of it.
It doesn't mean that it might depend on when it went in. It might not have
Indeed.
needed a permit.
Well, I noted in your NOI, you said that the house was in the 1700s, but the other stuff was in the 80s, which would mean that it should have received a permit. So, just to be even-handed, I always ask this question when we come across properties where, especially something this large in the NDZ is extant, and I do think we need to find out.
Sure.
You're suggesting handling it at the next one, but
We can certainly find out in the meantime. I don't think, I think the statute of limitations is such that
well, I don't
they
know.
can't.
Okay.
No, I mean, from a zoning perspective, the statute of limitations is such that it's there, it's pre-existing non-conforming. I don't think that you can necessarily take subsequent action to say, remove this because you didn't get a permit in 1980 when you constructed it. There may be something in the building department on file, but I know you always bring that up, Bob, but there is a statute of limitations with respect to construction of structures like a tennis court or a building and things like that with permits. That's why you have the zoning board of appeals to deal with pre-existing non-conforming structures.
Okay, well, let's find out what you have, what's on the record. We have nothing.
No, we have time to get to the bottom of it. We
Yeah,
don't
no,
have a
I'm not
DEP.
suggesting let's rip it out because we can't prove that it should have ever been there, but I'm glad you said you're coming back with more in that area.
We're gonna be doing a lot more work on the property, yes.
Not much more room there, but okay.
Just looking at Google Earth, it was there in 1995.
Yeah,
I can't
just
say
we just
anything
need to
before
know
that,
whether it
it's
was
too blurry.
whether it predates Chatham's wetlands bylaw.
I'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, okay. So, sounds like other than that concern, we have reached parity on the tree replacement. And do you have concerns about anything else?
I'm just curious what percentage is native? Seeing climbing
75%.
hydrangea is not.
Yeah, there's a note on the planting plan
It
that
said 25%.
more 25%
Oh, is
would be
there? I
non-native.
didn't notice. Okay,
At the very bottom.
okay.
I think some of the existing ornamentals will remain, right, Teresa? And then,
That's correct.
right.
Yes, there's some existing ornamentals that are proposed to remain, and then there are some non-natives that are going to be located outside of the 100-foot buffer because there's some foundation plantings that we have to reinstate outside of jurisdictional area.
All right.
I'm just concerned that, once we approve this site plan with the tennis court on it, it carries the implication that we're improving that. Can we just add a note that it's not necessarily approved at this point, and we will, figure out a compromise or a solution down the road when you, come back with a larger plan?
Of course.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if you knew if any filings after the house had been approved that showed the tennis court.
I'm not aware of anything, Nikki.
Yeah, there's no notes on here that you have older ones, so.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that, Janet.
okay.
I mean, for that matter, part of the pool is in the NDZ as well, in the deck.
Yep.
If you wouldn't mind, while you're looking, David. It just needs, we need to clear it up. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Janet, just, we do not, our order of conditions does not constitute approval of construction, pre-existing construction in the NDZ. All right. So, how?
I can get to the bottom of the tennis court within a few days, so.
And the pool. I think the pool's in the NDZ too, right?
It is, a portion.
I gotta believe things were done with permits, but
We're all hoping.
We're assuming.
We're assuming.
okay, absolutely. So I'll get to the bottom of that very quickly, and I would hope to have a DEP file number within a few days.
All right, so I don't know if you heard, but we are not going to meet.
I think
On
that's
the
great.
5th.
I think you should take a holiday.
Oh, excellent, all
I'm
right.
not sure it's.
You know, and I know why that happened. You have Nikki back here riding herd again and putting it,
Just keeping us in line.
So that puts us up to July 12th?
that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, yes, I'm just trying to make my sheet work. Motion to
Trying to get your sheet
continue.
together.
No, my new spreadsheet to track this stuff. Motion to continue 93 Scattery Road to July the 12th.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Janet.
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
I'm going upstairs right now to do a
Very
little
good.
research.
Very good.
Great, we're here
Thank
still.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so next we have a certificate of compliance for 116 Happy Valley Road. Paul and Susan McGrath, map 6D, parcel 15, SC 102913, cut existing foundation to lower dwelling and addition. That is fine. The plants are all fine. I went out and did a site visit with the homeowner, and he just had a lot of issues with like blueberry and some other things getting just demolished by animals. So he replanted with, all natives, in those areas, so he just traded out, and there's a note in here,
That's good.
from before my time that said the commission stated that he could replant with anything that was native. That was, you know, he kind of went around his property and saw what was working well and not getting demolished by chipmunks and rabbits and stuff. So I went out there, it's gorgeous, it's entirely native, it looks great.
Good.
Right.
Good survival rate, so I recommend approval.
So it did work. The animals are not eating,
I can't remember, he
So
did a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
t- I'm gonna
wheat
copy
farms.
this list. If all of these are showing to be not susceptible to being demolished by the critters,
We ought to
I'm gonna
publish
start.
that,
Yeah, I'm gonna, right, we should,
if you are interested in not replacing,
right.
because they're eating everything, pretty
Pretty
much.
much.
Oh, it was a lot of his bearberry for some reason was destroyed.
Huh.
But like I said, I went out there with him and it's very fully vegetated. There's basically only room to, you know, kind of walk around the house. It's a gorgeous property, so.
Nice.
right? So the description of this, I was a little confused about it. It says, cut existing foundation to lower dwelling and addition. So that must have meant cut existing foundation plants, or what?
Did they really lower the
I
foundation?
couldn't follow in the agenda, what the
Yeah.
description referred.
I was curious.
She just went off the description that was on the folder from 2013. So let me see what the actual notice says.
It just sounded so weird. I
Because that talks, it only refers to what would seem to be foundation work.
I think it was an odd shaped house that wasn't designed well. So I think he explained it to me on site. I don't see the narrative. But it was just adding some extra living space. So like, I think they had to get rid of some of the foundation and then they built an addition to make the house more flow better. It's not a very big house at all, but
What
it was
year-
just set up weird.
What year was 80, what year was the work?
913, it's pretty long.
Yeah, 13.
20, the SE number is
Oh,
2913, which would be at least 10, 15 years ago.
I just wanted to make sure, I was just wondering if there was like two different,
Wants to eliminate the use, this is, looks like minutes maybe. Eliminate the use of lower level living space and replicate the space in a second floor expansion. Yeah, so they didn't have interior stairs, they actually had to go outside to get down to the basement
level.
To the
area.
basement,
So
yeah.
they're just kind of reconfiguring it so they could get down from inside.
I looked at a house like that and said, no.
Mm-mm.
so in the process, they also replaced the vegetation.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so. I do believe it is in substantial compliance. The only thing it's not the same is that they had to switch out some plantings, but again, it was all natives.
Well, the fact that it's been this long and they're still alive and they're still native and they haven't been taken, it's all good news. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the COC for 116 Happy Valley Road.
Latin second?
Roll call vote. Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I vote aye. And David is back already.
David Little again. So building permits were issued for the pool and the tennis court in 1986.
Wow.
Okay, so there should have been conservation.
That's not
Yeah,
that's
no,
not
it's
the
the town.
applicant's fault. That's the building department's fault for not sending them to conservation. You can't get a you shouldn't be able to get a building permit if you need Conservation Commission approval.
So it's only been in, I don't know, the last 10-ish years that the building and conservation and health and zoning have all really
work.
started to work together and not just say, I'm issuing this without getting, you know, anyone else's.
Well,
thoughts.
but it was still on the
So
books.
all we can say is the client went through the process of getting a building permit and was issued one.
Did they own the house then?
No, my clients just purchased this
Just
house
purchased it, I
this
see.
past year.
So,
Aha.
Yeah, so I think that the previous client may have gotten away with something.
well,
Not
no,
not
the town
necessarily,
the town didn't
no,
do-
Rob, it's not,
Yeah.
Bob, it's not true.
Well, it was the law, it was
If
the
you,
law of the
if you
land.
go, if you come to the town hall and ask for a permit for constructing a tennis court and a swimming pool, and the town hall tells you this is what you need to do, and you follow through with it, I think you've done your due diligence.
You could
We're
also-
talking 1986. We have contractors out there that still don't understand the Wetlands Protection Act today, that
I agree with
that
you on
you're
that.
going like this to.
I
mean,
agree with you on that. However, I mean, the Wetlands Protection Act was enacted in the 70.
Eight.
And that was the
That was the-
Chatham regulations were in,
no, 78, wetlands protection.
okay, anyway, in either case, it predates
I
this construction.
defer to you guys on this. All I can tell you is permits were issued and they were constructed lawfully. Whether or not you can go after them because they didn't go before the Conservation Commission in '86, I don't know that they didn't go before the Conservation Commission in '86.
Yeah.
I just went up to the building department to look at their files. I haven't looked in Nikki's files.
Well, that's where we need to look. But Nikki has already looked, but it's probably worth a second look.
I can, try and pull up those minutes too from
86.
86. I mean, they're probably very vague, but at least we can see if they were on.
I remember
this a
the
question-
the
is this a-
secretary's name was Jeanette back then.
Oh,
And I remember Alice Hiscock was the chair of the commission back then.
yeah.
Wow.
And believe you me, if something was done untoward, they would have gotten to the bottom of it.
Yeah, but
You have to
the
be
question
aware.
that you're raising is the possibility that they just didn't know, that the matter was not referred through central permitting to all of the, as it is now, that for whatever reason, it may have fallen through the crack, which means that the real issue is what happens then. I mean, of course, there's no recourse against the original owners, that they didn't do anything wrong and they're long gone anyway. So what does that mean for us? Approving a site plan with this.
I would think it would be a tall task for you to tell somebody that they didn't follow the law and that has to be removed. I don't think.
Like, you can't tell they didn't follow the law because we don't know that.
Right,
So-
but I'm just saying, I wouldn't want to venture down that path.
Well, I'm sure this is not the first time it's come up and,
No, you brought it up on a shed on Route 28.
yeah.
And we determined that the shed was built unlawfully, and you granted a permit after the fact for the shed.
Right.
So,
Right.
That's true, but a shed and a
pool
pool
and tennis.
are on a different scale.
the shed was right at the top of a coastal bank.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Sods.
Well,
Well,
we'll grapple with that when
we
we get
will
to it. I
grapple
feel
with
sorry
it.
for whoever has to run that hearing, and it's really gonna be a problem.
Well,
I'm taking my brother's
I'm gonna-
invitation up.
well,
Good luck, Karen.
I will be prepared. Let me just put it that way. Thank you for,
Yeah, we probably need to somehow go back and sort of figure out what our options are
Yeah,
legally, yeah. So,
And then we'll be prepared when they do come before us.
yeah,
maybe you can talk to other agents in
And
other towns.
I think
and
that's
see
a
if it's
question
gotta
for
be
town
come up.
council, is it not?
it might be,
maybe.
it
Yeah.
might be, yeah, it might be.
But now we know to do some research.
Right.
Yep.
and be
Oh, well.
prepared.
And,
Thanks
See ya.
again.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
I mean, for that matter, the realtor should have known.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot. Harwich, a lot of the different secretaries for the departments all worked kind of in like a pod right out front. So I heard all the time, oh, no, you don't need a building permit for a fence. And I was like, well, wait, like, let's see if it's in.
yeah.
So that happens a lot, that they're like, oh, you don't need a building permit, and they just don't realize that they needed a conservation permit, or, you know, so it happens quite a lot. Usually it is hopefully found during a real estate transfer, but not always.
Or we find it when they come before us for other work,
Yeah.
Yeah,
as
which is
has
how,
happened
which is
with a
how we
few.
usually find out about it. We see it on the plan and say,
And then we have to figure out on a case by case, I guess.
I mean, being that this is a brand-new owner that had nothing to do with it,
Yeah, we
I-
can't.
I don't feel right making them completely remove it and like, so let's see what, he finds when he comes back and what his potential future plans are for.
Well, maybe they're thinking of getting rid of it anyway.
But in general, it would be good, I think, to have an opinion from town council on the general case of pre-existing structures, especially in the NDZ,
Right, that have a building permit, but no evidence of any other.
of anything ever been filed for conservation after town wetlands regulations were in place. What does town council recommend that we do or not do? I don't know why we haven't got that already. We should have had that already.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time.
No, and it won't be the last.
Especially with these older ones, and as I would suspect, the people that his clients just purchased it from were the original owners. So there hasn't been any intervening transactions that would have triggered something like that.
Right.
I'll bet a lot, and back in the 80s, people didn't.
No, I doubt that normal homeowner in the 80s knew anything about having to file for the wetlands.
No. We have
People now that know,
people
yeah.
now, yeah. So
So
forget
we'll look
80s.
into it and.
All right, I would like to propose we move the reorganization topic to the further down, because we have a couple of other things to do.
Sure.
I have it down at the bottom last.
Oh, you did? It's-
Yeah.
Right now, it's above the minutes.
Now,
Oh, no, the minutes I have next.
Okay, well, let's do it, let's follow your agenda then.
how do you have it different?
Yeah, I think she,
Are you getting yours from Dropbox?
Hmm?
You getting yours from Dropbox, your agenda? That's where I'm getting it.
she revised it at one point because I had an old agenda that doesn't have minutes on it.
Okay,
So it's just,
all right, let's
Small revisions.
let's go to minutes then.
all right, minutes to be approved, June 7th, 2023.
They're not complete. They have the first two items on the agenda, and none of the rest of the agenda items are on there. So they
Yeah,
need to be completed. Let me take a look and make sure I've got that, because I started reading it. 6, 7.
I thought it was pretty good. Maybe I'll go back and look.
so it looks like Janet, you put some change in there, but that's,
Scallop.
Yeah, it goes
Mostly-
to,
but then you pointed out how it's incomplete.
let me see what I have on
The
You have the-
minutes I have,
that mine stop at 72 Happy Valley is the
oh
last
no,
thing.
see, I got it off the Dropbox.
What? That's what I'm looking at right now, and it's incomplete.
Did somebody erase some of it?
No, but Nikki said Crystal may have changed some.
Because I
I don't
have,
go back normally and,
Oh, after you wrote minutes incomplete, need to add additional matters,
Oh, it's further.
go down, it's.
Oh, there's
further
more,
down.
oh, there are page breaks.
Oh,
occurring
it's a
here.
Yeah, it's
Page
weird
break.
page breaks, it looks
Okay.
like.
oh,
I was gonna,
all
mine
right.
came out.
I think if you
When you printed
download
it,
it
it's fine.
into
I
Word,
was-
it would actually,
Okay, yeah, now I see it.
I was
Sorry,
doing
Crystal.
it while the kids were in camp and I was in the car, so I printed it.
There's a couple of page breaks.
yeah, that are really large, and I think that's just the online Word.
Well,
As we keep talking about, whenever you, sometimes, well, when you convert PDFs to Word, the formatting goes completely.
oh, is that what happened here?
It could be, and this is the sort of thing that happens when you do that.
All right.
It gets like this, it puts in weird breaks and.
The only thing I had was in 45 Old Harbor Lane, the added findings, it says there is app agent Nicole Smith, approximately 30,000
Yeah, I fixed
square
that.
feet. Okay, you did.
Somehow Nikki's name got dropped in there.
Yeah,
Don't know
Yeah.
why, it should.
I went, what?
It should just say there is approximately 30,000
Yeah.
square feet, yeah.
Thank you. That was all I found.
Okay.
Hey, it's Crystal.
Hi, Crystal.
So sometimes when I transfer it from Teams,
Ah,
it has weird page breaks.
Yeah, I believe that. That's not unlike it has to do with the way that these various systems, Adobe and Microsoft and other things are working or not working together. Okay.
Yeah, it's
On that
really,
note, she's having a blast doing the regulations and trying to get them formatted.
Oh, how's that going? How's the formatting going?
I'm pretty much redoing it. And cutting and pasting whatever I can
Redoing
that won't format.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, for some reason, some of the pages will work and she can change it, and then other ones she has to retype the whole.
No, I have at some point I decided to try and do that myself a couple of years ago, and I converted the whole thing and ran into the same problem. And so I stopped and I did certain sections that we use all the time, and then I ended up doing a lot of typing, so I feel your pain. But it'll be worth it when we have a editable set.
Yes. Why we don't, I don't know, but.
Okay, so are we set with minutes?
Mhm.
Anyone care to offer a?
Oh, yeah. Motion to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2023.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. How about we cover some unforeseen items?
Like you had the items for enforcements that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, that one, and I also just wanted to check in with
Chair, so
what's happening with the brochure.
I feel like I'm.
That's a good question.
Here.
I brought the brochure to be printed yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank you.
So the wetlands
So
brochure,
Oh, that's better.
Yeah,
wetlands brochure
Sir
was
Speedy is printing it.
Oh, is that what you, okay. I don't think I knew what you were going to Sir Speedy for.
Yay, we were more concerned about the chair, right?
Sorry, yeah, I was
She was
way
very
down
low.
here. I was
Oh,
like
okay.
sitting like a kindergarten kid.
share incident, okay.
We are losing.
Oh, thank you,
track.
Yep.
thank you for the update, Crystal. I'm looking forward to just seeing that
Yeah.
Yeah.
hanging up
exciting.
in public areas. All right, violations. So, as I mentioned, Elise, on her own volition, went through a copy of my spreadsheet that I used to sort of capture notes about every hearing, and I gave her a static copy of it some time ago. And so she, when she saw the violations tracker spreadsheet that I put together, she went through my big spreadsheet and pulled out everything that had the word, everything that was a violation, and capture those into a spreadsheet for me to look at. And so I then, some of them, most of them, copied an abbreviated version of those into the violation tracker. So if you look at the violation tracker now,
Yeah,
you will see that it has more stuff.
yeah.
And then the question is, what do we do with it, if anything? And I think what occurred to me, these new things that are in there are violations that occurred during my tenure, which is, 5 years now. And what I don't know is if any of the older ones were ever resolved. I happen to know one of these probably wasn't, just from personal knowledge. So anyway, as an exercise, I put them all in there just so that we could sort of get a sense of how many violations have occurred in the past 4 or 5 years.
These are all in 2020. Wait a
A lo-
minute.
They are, a lot of them are in 2020.
Ah.
Yeah, they are. And that means that by now they should have been closed up. We after a period of time, are supposed to get we're supposed to have gone out there and say, oh yeah, your planning plan, your restoration plan look good, or they don't look good, or whatever.
Remember that we didn't start using that until about 2021. The form that we use now for restoration orders.
Yeah,
All before that, we just issued enforcement orders.
with no plan
Correct.
for confirmation.
Yeah.
Well, that would explain why all those are hanging out there then. So, I think question number one is, well, so does that mean we can't really, we have no recourse?
No, you'd have to
follow?
look at each enforcement order and see what it said. Most of them would have said, submit a plan of some sort, submit a restoration, a plan.
Yeah.
Some of them, I think, actually did require an NOI until we stopped doing that.
Yeah.
I think all you have to do really is pull the enforcement orders and see what it says, and then go have a look.
Yeah. So I'd like to think we could use this to sort of
Really good.
figure out the workload.
Thank you, Bob and Elise. That's good.
I think we should also prioritize these, obviously. And there's, I think they're more or less in rough priority order.
Well, can't the ones that had in 2020 a restoration order approved, can't we follow up on those at this point?
Yeah, it looks like restoration plans were submitted,
If-
so that would make that easy, as opposed to turf grass where fescue, and
Yeah.
we just argued about it. Doesn't look like we ever issued anything else about that.
But I think,
But the ones toward the top, I think we do need to sort of dig
We
in
haven't
on.
taken the action yet.
Yeah.
well, I thought geranium, the letter was issued. No?
I don't know.
Paul was going
Paul's-
to hand deliver.
Right.
Yeah, but now he had knee surgery and he's on the beach and all that kind of stuff, so,
It's unclear.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, those are first in my basket. up
Okay,
here,
so was letter issued is the right question to be asking.
Yeah.
And then I think we do want to hear from, on Taylor's Pond, we want to hear from, who was it?
Jen?
Jen,
Jen
they
Crawford.
had given us an update in the spring and said they had started.
She said they had completed it last time.
I thought they had
Yeah,
completed
I
it.
thought
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
did say
Can't remember.
completed.
So at this
No, they
point,
started.
yeah, at this point, we just need annual
You just need to get, well,
reports from them about.
I think we should hear from her. We should ask her to come in and just tell us,
Ooh.
Crawford.
Is it
okay,
okay
good.
if she just,
You
writes a
can-
letter or?
We may have questions. This is a high-profile,
Well, I mean, if we visit, we might have questions. If she's just saying it's completed, what questions might we have?
I'd like to hear a description of what she found when she went on the property, a
Oh,
description
okay.
of what she did,
Yeah.
a description of any sort of variation from the plan and what they did.
No, that's fine. As long as we know we have questions.
Yeah, I have questions.
Before
even hearing, I don't necessarily need to go there, but I would like to hear from them who went there and did the work. And they weren't the ones who were originally assigned to do the work. They were brought in,
Right.
No, Blue Flax was the original.
right? It was supposed to be Blue Fax according to the agreement. And then that didn't happen. So that's why we had to issue a letter to get something to happen, another letter. And then something happened, and now I'd like to find out what happened. So I'd like for Jen to be invited to come and speak to us and tell us what she thinks happened.
Maybe July 12th?
So how about I ask her for a monitoring report? Send that to all of
Status
you.
report.
Yeah, send that to all of you. If you have questions or want
Then-
to talk to her, then
can
we
do
can
that.
bring her
That
in.
would
Just
save
because it
time.
is their really busy season,
We
so
can do it that way. yeah.
if there's not much we need to actually talk to her about,
Okay.
then.
And then on Morris Island Road, we drive by that and I believe, we see that it is basically undealt with.
Yes.
And we should deal with it. And I put this,
I don't recall a letter being issued even. We
I think-
talked about it.
I think, well, originally there was something, this was when previous agent was here.
That
I don't know what's
came up
happened
when
since then.
That actually came up when I first got on commission, which would be January/February 2021. Was when,
This is one where they submitted an NOI,
yes, and that's how it came up.
Yeah, and I'm trying to see.
I think they had been reported by a neighbor, but
The reporting, I think, had to do with the shed.
yes.
Not
And then
necessarily
we found the garden.
There's a violation letter that was issued, December 2020. An enforcement order was issued May of 2022, saying the violation was installation of unpermitted shed, garden, removal of previously required mitigation plantings, and ordering removal. Restoration plan shall be filed for the following: removal of the shed, the garden, and replacement of plantings. Was that final? I'm looking for a
And when we
signed
went by,
version
when
of
we
it, I
were
don't
doing
know.
Talippi, it
Yeah.
all still existed.
It all still existed, right?
So I can remember driving by and going,
So
wait a minute.
what was the NOI filed for? I think he responded to that enforcement order by, instead of filing a restoration plan, he filed an NOI, because he wanted to leave the stuff and he asked for permission. That
And we
was the
didn't.
NOI.
We didn't. We didn't.
And-
We did not approve.
I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have, but I don't, I'm just pulling up where my computer's finding various documents.
I don't recall that we approved the NOI.
No, but whatever happened.
At
what
least
was
that part
last?
of it. At least that part of it.
January 2021.
Approved it all.
I
at all?
think they pulled it out because we were
14 Mars
saying that all
Island.
this had to be replaced.
Should be.
They wanted to, they wanted to, it was to do the garden part. I remember that. And I was new, but I kept thinking, why can't you put the garden someplace else, was why I remember that part.
There was a place on the other side of the property that looked okay.
Yeah. I don't remember any other
Yeah,
aspect
so it's
of
just
it.
a big hanging loose end that
Very.
you need to figure out, because it's one of those egregious violations to me,
Mm-hmm.
where a garden went into a mitigation area. It's just something we can't,
And a shed on the top of a bank.
yeah, we just can't let slide.
No.
And so, again, I think these are in roughly priority order. There's the one on Agnes Lane, which was reported to us. Someone just needs to go look at it. Scallop Drive,
We all saw.
Thad thinks that our conditions were not clear. I disagree, but whatever. Frostfish Hill.
That one is weird. It is not subject to the Wetlands Protection Act.
No.
So
No, it's
it was like conservation, it was a conservation restriction.
It was a,
area.
it was a CR.
But I don't think we hold it. I think the foundation does. So that was one of the first places I went when I
You
started.
know it, yeah, you know that place, yeah.
And he was talking about doing the plantings, and I was just really confused on why. Because they're not in violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, just the conservation restriction, but that's,
It wasn't in a resource area.
I don't know, I guess I don't know if I looked to see if it was.
So if it's, do we have any jurisdiction?
If we hold the restriction, we do, but if the
Right.
foundation does, then
Right.
we don't.
Well, we proceeded as if we did.
We did,
Right.
We hired David Clark to do a
that's right.
plan and all, and
You approved the plan.
we approved the plan.
Well, so,
I'll have to dig into that one a little deeper. I know back, it was, again, one of the first things I did, because I was so confused on why.
but any place
issued an
where a
enforcement.
plan was approved, shouldn't we be able to go and check it? I mean, it doesn't matter, whether EO was issued, there's a plan that was approved that they're supposed to be
I
following.
don't think no, because they wouldn't have had to file anything with us. That's why I'm saying, how
But
can we
who
do an
approved
enforcement
the
on?
plan? It says restoration plan was approved.
Well, again,
Well, I know, but
these
they
are
didn't
my notes.
originally.
I know.
These are my notes.
Oh, no, I know they are.
No, so it's, but what I'm saying is they never came to us for any permit, so
Right.
how can we enforce a non-existent
exactly.
permit? So I'll have to look at the file again because it was a long time ago, but I was very, very confused about why
And
Conscom
we're not
was
at all
able to.
confused here. So I think you're rightfully confused.
Yeah, so as far as I know, he replanted it. I haven't driven by in a long time to see.
I drove
if
by
it's-
recently because somebody, I guess Bob somebody had mentioned it, I think it was you. And, had to do a quick, and I
Yeah.
didn't see the roadway there anymore,
I think they removed the shed.
yeah.
I don't know what they did with the road there.
I didn't see it, so.
Okay, all right,
I'm
so
assuming
just
it's been planted.
the important part to me was the garden.
Of course.
And then on Mill Hill Road,
Oh, here's the restoration order. 41 Frostfish Hill, we issued a restoration order.
so if we
Hearing
issue,
held, restoration order was reviewed at the work session 3/3/21. I'm looking for the recitation of resource areas. There isn't any.
It's sold since then.
Oh, really?
No,
Yeah, it sold in 2022.
that makes it a little more complicated.
yes, it does.
Oh, for $1, so.
Oh,
So
it's an
it's just a change in
in-family thing.
name ownership.
Yeah, it's still Patrick and Rosemary. Oh, yeah, it's just from a trust to.
And then the next one on this list, I'll let Janet talk about because I recuse myself because I'm a neighbor.
Oh, I don't mean,
Remember that one?
yes. I don't know what happened. I will admit that once we issued it,
I drive by it every day.
this was, what do you know about how it?
Well, I think it just needs a follow-up to find out whether the restoration plan was followed.
The last thing I remember was we approved a restoration plan with all of these plants. And then he went to go buy the plants himself.
Yes.
He did all his own plans.
Yes.
And he went to go buy the plants, and he went to Crocker's, and they didn't have the natives that he wanted, and they had other ones on sale. So he bought all of those and came back and said, I want to swap in all of these.
Oh, geez.
And in the end, I believe we acceded to it and said, as long as they're native, and you have them, and they were just sitting in his yard waiting to be put into the ground. And that's the last thing I remember.
Yep. So it's sort of an example of how we do all this effort
Right.
for these violations.
idea
And
whether
then
we
we
don't follow.
just don't find out whether what we asked them to do or required them to do was done.
Right.
And then I don't think we should need to go on into all the rest of these, but I think down to that one at least, I mean, I think that's a pretty good chunk to work on. Do you remember the rest of these?
I remember Port Nimicut. I remember the volleyball court, the movie screen, the trampoline.
Yep, yep.
God, I read that one and I went, wow.
He turned the backyard into a whole
Shangri-La.
whole entertainment area.
Yeah. The greatest hits of violations here.
So, sort of along this line, with violations, we're saying we don't follow up. With RDAs, we don't follow up either. How do we ever know? This is something I've been wondering.
Well, we don't.
We don't.
Yeah, and so maybe we should, and
But the thing about
I'm
RDAs
not a
is
big
that.
RDA fan at this point.
No, there should be, if you look at the act and the bylaw, I mean, it's for really minimal impact.
Yeah.
Something that is just maybe too much for an administrative review, but we end up with conditions and mitigation and all this
Yeah, and
stuff.
it's
we
kind
have-
of
but we
bothering
can't
me
enforce
a
any of
bit,
this.
as you can tell.
It shouldn't be, yeah.
I don't know, it's just sort of along the same line as violations. They just sort of go into an abyss, and we never know if anybody followed what we approved.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily so concerned about RDAs because by definition, they shouldn't have any impact. And the
Right.
conditions that we usually ask for are fairly minimal, but to me,
Oh, these are,
Violation is
these
much
are
more-
worse,
these are-
yes.
these are
a much bigger deal.
Significantly worse, but it's sort of the same idea, and I was wondering if
Well.
we have an
you know,
opportunity to follow up.
Not to pick at an old scab, but, you know, a lot of this is staffing issues,
It
you
is.
know.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna look into
I'm
all
like,
the
how is Nikki
RDAs.
gonna get to
No.
the 14 properties? So,
Oh, no, I know.
you know, how,
but-
what if anything, is happening with respect to the hiring of an assistant agent?
I'm basically drafting all different scenarios of how we can reorganize. And then we're gonna talk about it with Bob and Megan and HR and Paul and Crystal and kind of figure out what we finally want to go through with. So I don't know if you know that Bob is retiring, which is scary because
Wow.
who wants to do sewer and
Health
Conservation and health and shellfish.
and on a whole variety of other construction projects.
yeah, so, but anyways, that's another story.
Yep.
So I've asked him to fit me into his last month or so, that he's here to try and get like a firm, what are we doing?
Right, and is your estimate of the workload as it currently impacts the current employees and as you see it impacting what the need is for future employees to absorb that, such as a lot of this field work, should be a big part of that, because it's just way too much for you, for one
Yeah.
person.
And for you and Crystal, since she's now doing, trying her hand at OOCs, which is terrific.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I have something to say about that too, but I'll wait until.
yeah,
No, I think I can say it right now, Crystal, I think it's admirable, and it's really tough. But at the same time, I mean, we've had this philosophical conversation for years about in what towns commissioners write parts of the order and what places where the agents do it. But from my perspective, the findings and the special conditions are the heart of it. They're critical. The findings have to justify the decision that the commission is making, and that's in terms of whether it approves the project, and if so, under what conditions it's willing to approve it. And I don't think it's right to ask Crystal to read our minds about what we want in there. So one of the things I want
Yeah.
to do, starting July 12th, is before we, before we're done with any matter, to make sure we are all very clear when we put on the record.
Yep.
Here
I
are the
agree.
findings we want to put in there, and here are the special conditions we want to put in
Yeah,
there.
I've asked a couple times for certain hearings, I've asked, because
Yeah,
it's just
what-
like, wait, what exactly
We
are
need to be in the habit
Yeah.
of making sure we're conveying that and
I agree.
communicating that.
Just like a
Yeah.
brief summary at the very end of the hearing saying this is
Right,
what
so before we send it, is everybody, clear on what the findings are gonna be and what the conditions are gonna be? We'll take a few minutes, but I think it'll be well worth it, because I can't imagine trying to write one of those things
And it's,
without knowing that.
I'm not great at taking notes while trying to look at files and all that kind of stuff, so I end up having to go back and
Watch
basically
tapes
watching the
and-
whole
oh,
thing.
God, and that's
So-
a
but it
big
does
waste of
help
time.
to also watch the tape
Yeah,
when you're trying to put together the findings
Yeah.
and conditions.
so we can
because
make it
sometimes
more
you
efficient
miss.
by being very articulating what we believe
Correct.
should be in there.
Yeah,
And
I
then
agree.
That just makes it better, anyway. So I forget how that came up, but I was thinking about that lately.
Because I was
one thing
saying
leads to another.
It does,
Crystal
funny thing.
taking over.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah, oh, yeah, but we still, I still perceive that there's no change, there's only growing workload, that more than justifies, another person. So,
Yeah, I've given feedback to Dr. Bob 3 different occasions on why the commission thinks it's important to hire someone for a position that was approved. And,
I don't think anyone has a problem, it's just trying to figure out what's the best way to rearrange the office so that it works best for the 3 current employees and what we need from a 4th, whether it's just administrative stuff or, whatever it is. So, so like I said, I'm gonna do a whole scenario of part-time person, full-time person, another assistant agent, that kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna do all the different scenarios, like a variance request, I guess, like if we do nothing, or, these are the options, and this is the one I think is the best, and then we're gonna talk about it. So it is on the list to have a meeting with Bob sometime in July.
better make sure that happens in
Yes,
July.
yeah, oh, I'm planning
I'd
on,
go for early.
yeah, early, yeah, I'm planning on,
Because
getting it
having
done
retired,
this
start
week or
checking
Monday.
out.
So, to finish off with violations, I think we kind of,
Got distracted.
yeah, got off the track, on a different track. What is your reaction, Nikki, in terms of what you would like to make of this spreadsheet and the information therein?
So I think the best way to move forward would be for me to just kind of look through the file and see if we've gotten anything updated that maybe it wasn't ever put in Dropbox or wasn't talked about at a meeting. Just kind of see where it stands. If they have an official person that did the plan and was supposed to do the work, whether it's Blue Flags or Crawford or whoever, just get an update status from them, because they would know best on where it stands. And then if they say, oh yeah, we did the work, and send a letter ready to close out, and then we would do the inspections, or, you know, just kind of do some general contact stuff with the people involved and then see where it stands, and then kind of go from there. And so I would just update the spreadsheet with that, and then we can discuss further.
Okay.
Further action, whether it's close it out, call it done, or enforcement because you never did anything, or, you know.
Right. Okay. I guess that's all we need to do about that at this point in time. And that leaves, yeah, we've already heard about the brochure. That's great. So that leaves one more item. And that is reorg. I have some remarks. This is the time of year, I'm going to read them. This is the time of year when town committees and commissions traditionally elect or re-elect leadership positions. My understanding is that the select board is in favor of routine changes in such positions, and I think that rotating chairs and vice chairs helps to bring fresh perspectives to the roles and to broaden the experience of members. I had conversations with Vice Chair Bob Delvecchio about his becoming chair, but he ultimately decided that he was not inclined to do so at this time. I can't imagine why not. We then agreed that it would be prudent to recruit someone to the vice chair role who would be willing to one day become chair. So I then approached the next most senior member of the commission, who so agreed, inexplicably. And so I would like to nominate Karen Latin as vice chair. Can I have
I am delighted to second that motion.
let's take a roll.
Excellent idea.
Let's take a roll call vote.
I think we should vote quickly.
All right.
Before she changes her mind.
Or she changes. And I also want to thank Bob Delvecchio, who has served
Yes.
ably as vice chair for the past couple of years. So how do you vote, Janet?
Aye.
And Karen, you don't get a vote? No. Actually, we don't have enough people to,
Yeah, you have to vote.
I have to vote.
You have
I
to
guess
vote.
I won't go against you.
that seals the deal. Mary.
Aye.
Mary votes aye, and I also vote aye.
Because if I had abstained or said no,
Right, we
it
wouldn't-
wouldn't pass.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Just saying.
Hey,
Well, no, this is
wait a
good. Now we
minute.
have it on record that you have willingly agreed and volunteered.
That's correct.
Thanks,
As
Mary.
opposed to
There's no-
voluntold.
There's no plausible deniability whatsoever.
That's right. It's
Exactly.
Shoot.
All right, so that leaves the issue of who will be chair if it's not going to be me. And I've been chair for 2 years, was vice chair before that. It's been an interesting experience, but at this point, I'm perfectly willing to rotate out. And luckily, it has come to my attention that a fellow commissioner is willing and eminently able to assume the role.
Yes.
So I am sure that everyone will be delighted that I nominate former chair Janet Williams to reassume the role of chair. Can I have a, can I have a second? Can I have a second?
Before you even ask.
Roll call vote. Janet, you have to vote. She's not voting.
Janet, you have to vote.
Yes, you already said yes. Don't you?
I did say,
Seal your fate.
aye.
Again, another willing volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Karen, did
Aye.
I got your aye. Mary, do I have an aye from you?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that is a done deal. So that,
The women are taking over.
and my last remark is.
Thank you very much, Bob, for your leadership in doing it
Oh,
for 2 years.
you're
Yeah, I'm gonna wait until Bob Delvecchio is here to make my little speech about you guys,
Yes.
because he needs to
Okay.
hear it too.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, this concludes a clean sweep of the male-dominated leadership in conservation.
Now we're female dominated.
Now we have, yes.
That's a scary thing.
Well, we'll see about that.
All right, so with that important business concluded,
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Latin second.
roll call vote, Chad,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, thank you
Aye.
all.
Bye, Mary.
Bye, Mary. See you July 12th. Have a happy 4th and
See you
good long
July
weekend
12th.
and great week.
You too.
Yeah.
Congratulations on resuming the role.
Okay.
And
We
I'm
get to
sorry,
deal with the
Karen.
tennis court and
I
the
mean,
pool
that's
right off the
great.
bat.
I know.
What fun.
And possibly $2.99 cranberry.
Oh, yeah. Nah, that won't be here then.